Good morning. This budget hearing conducted by the Committee on Appropriations and Adjudication will now come to order. I want to thank everybody for coming this morning. This morning we reconvene to hear the Department of Chamorro Affairs. I want to thank everyone for your presence today as we continue the budget process for fiscal year 2019. We face overwhelming challenges due to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, impacts on the government of Guam's revenue stream. Given such austere times, we found it prudent that the Committee on Appropriations have different tone and approach to the budget hearings. The continued implication that past patterns of appropriations levels will no longer be taken as a given. Prior to this hearing, I sent a letter to each agency present today asking that you provide testimony answering specific questions relative to your agency's missions, how you measure the achievement of your missions, and other relevant matters. In prior fiscal years, the committee has taken the incremental budget approach and requested your agency to justify any additional funding above your existing funding level. For this fiscal year, we are engaging in a form of zero-based budgeting, which does not start from the prior year's fiscal year funding level to justify next year's fiscal funding year level. Rather, we take a deeper look into each agency's budget from the ground up. Given the likelihood of decreased revenues from which to fund government services for our people, we must take a closer look at each and every agency of this government and not be bound by what we have already provided in the past. Some of you have maybe Googled ZZB and found that there is no true consensus on which zero-based budgeting is operationalized. I want to clarify to everyone that the zero-based budget approach the committee intends on taking is more a shift in mindset as we continue this budget process. The public should be aware that what was provided for in the past is not what the committee will be solely basing decisions on the future. The committee is doing something it can do to show the people of Guam that we are committing to the ground-up approach because the current fiscal environment calls for it. And as I look out at the audience, I see the new director of PBS, and I assure you that PBS is the one channel that I watch almost nightly, several hours. But even my affinity towards PBS and Chamorro Affairs, I'm going to be expecting that you justify your current existence. I mean, explain every position that you want and need to keep, why it's necessary after a year and a half of no director or general manager, there is a need for a general manager to continue to the forward. The whole thing. There are no compadres, no good friends here. We are just here to try to put a budget together, and I expect that each one of you will defend each of your agencies. I want to compliment the governor straight off that this morning is a perfect example of where he has made some savings by having President Johnny Sablan oversee 4 agencies and really having deputies or having a senior person classified run each of the departments individually. So that's the kind of thing that we're going to have to look at in the future to try to figure out whether or not there'd be other consolidations that might be necessary, or whether or not there will be just some removal of agencies that no longer serve a function. And so I just want to make that very clear this morning, that in spite of my close relationship with everybody and my personal affinity to PBS and my need to watch that for at least 3 hours every day, you're going to have to continue. You're going to have to provide all the information that not what I need, but what the committee and the Office of Finance and Budget is going to need to justify your existence. I may know its importance, but other people don't. And so please be prepared to answer as many questions or to be as, if you need to be, make some extemporaneous comments for some of the things that you need to do to justify your existence. So with that, I'll call the Department of Chamorro Affairs President, Mr. Sablan, to the table, and with him we will start with the Department of Chamorro Affairs, and then you can call whoever it is that you need to assist you in presenting for CAHA, and then for the HRRA, and then PBS. Okay?
May I call on, Mr. Chairman, my administrative officers to sit
Please.
next to me. Since this is Marilyn Rages. And then we will call the managers for the other 8 reorganization, number 6 agencies like CAHA and PBS and HRRA later. Since we want to thank you very much, Donkluna Sidus Masi na paguginigi manana Sidus Magait, Masya Mai Pigisan Hizong, lo Maulik Saman Fresquit Ginigisanalo. No. Mr. Chairman and fellow senators on this committee of budget hearing. Wednesday and half a day, Speaker Cruz and members of the Committee on Appropriations and Adjudication. Sidus Masi for the opportunity to present the fiscal year 2019 request for a Departamento ni CAHA Greenahan Samoro, the Department of Chamorro Affairs. Department of Chamorro Affairs is seeking on the FY 2019 appropriation of $2,566 and $325 for its operations. Let me repeat that again. $2,566,325 for its operations. The sum of $1,597,489 is requested from the Tourist Attraction Fund, and $968,836 is requested from the Guam Museum Fund. Approximately $857 is also requested for personnel costs, and $1,708,824 is requested for operational costs and utilities. DCA's mission is to create, develop, implement, maintain, an integrated program for the preservation, promotion, and advancement of the native Chamorro and other Asian Pacific residents of Guam. Department of Chamorro Affairs, as a public corporation, is the guiding force in all aspects of Chamorro culture, language preservation, education, arts, humanities, and history, based on Public Law 25-69, which is codified as 5 GCA Chapter 87. DCA accomplishes its mission by promoting and preserving Chamorro culture, awareness through programs, support services, activities, publications, and education. And just recently, we had a TV show called Imenhalum at PBS Guam. Last Sunday, Imenhalum is a competition of government agencies to compete among each other, and I'm proud to say that out of 8, 4 made the shall we say, the competition more exciting, and eventually Guam Community College won overall, and that would be aired again, and it's really the community, at least the Chamorro community, we're very happy to have received that island-wide. I Oficina Mas Gehilo, which is the President's office, is responsible for overall direction and administrative support. The President's office provides fiscal, administrative, and personnel guidance, and assist division administrators in the fulfillment of the commitment to their respective programs, such as planning, developing, and implementing regulations. A total of $295,337 is requested for personnel and operational costs for the President's Office for FY 2019. That's a decrease of $12,233 compared to FY 2018 authorized level. Approximately $205,792 is requested to fund the salaries and benefits for 3 employees: the DCA President, the Administrative Officer, and the Secretary, 2 typists. An increase of $8,090 is due to salary increments and the pay adjustment due to the Competitive Wage Act of 2014. In addition, $89,545 is requested for contractual services to include, but not limited to, independent auditing services, supplies, and a desktop computer. Department of Chamorro Affairs has 2 divisions, Iseng Chamorro and COSES, the Guam Museum. If you'd like for me to proceed, I'll talk about the Iseng Chamorro. Okay. The Chamorro Village is responsible for providing and maintaining a facility that will promote local products and produce of Guam, to provide support facilities for seminars, workshops, fairs, and special activities for the local community, to create and promote an incubator environment for entrepreneurial businesses to grow and eventually expand into the open market. The Chamorro Village accomplishes its mission by encouraging, promoting, and supporting local products of Guam and showcasing Guam's culture and traditions. The world-famous Wednesday night market has been in existence for 20 years and continues to attract the local, military, as well as the tourist market. In 1998, the Wednesday night market was awarded the most outstanding local tourism attraction by the Guam Visitors Bureau Excellence in Tourism Award. In 2006, Chamorro Village was awarded the Outstanding Contribution to Tourism by the Guam Visitors Bureau Excellence in Tourism Award. Approximately $266,793 is requested for personnel costs for the Chamorro Village for its FY 2019 appropriation. The personnel consists of a Chamorro Village manager, an administrative assistant, and 2 laborers, a decrease of $9,585 compared to the authorized level for FY 2018. On the Guam Museum, the COSES, the mission of the Guam Museum is to promote increased understanding of Guam's geology, biota, prehistory, history, and contemporary culture. As the official repository and custodian of historical artifacts of Guam, COSES is mandated to acquire, preserve, and make available for public viewing artifacts and archival materials relating to the cultural, historical, and natural heritage of Guam. In addition, it is DCA's objective to obtain accreditation from the American Alliance of Museums for the Guam Museum. The Guam Museum permanent exhibit, Hinanauta Nuimanyauta Otanu Itzamorusia, The Journey of the Chamorro People, officially opened to the public on May 3rd, 2018. This exhibition is the first of its kind, not only in its size and the breadth of its content, but it is also an exhibition that strives to tell the story from the perspective of the Chamorro people. It highlights the trials and tribulations as well as the strength and resilience of our people to navigate profoundly in this changing world. A total of $1,869,829 is requested for personnel and operational costs for the Guam Museum for FY 2019, which is composed of $968,836 from the Guam Museum Fund and $900,993 from the Tourist Attraction Fund. Approximately $291,176 is requested to fund salaries and benefits for the museum administrator and 2 museum assistants and 1 laborer. The $89,292 increase in personnel costs is required to fill the museum curator position, as it is vital in obtaining accreditation for the Guam Museum. Therefore, a total of $1,578,653 is requested for operational and utility costs for the Guam Museum on FY 2019. Request has a decrease of $530,271 compared to the authorized level for FY 2018. Again, Zeus Masi for giving Department of Chamorro Affairs the opportunity to present its FY 2019 budget request, and DCA welcomes any questions the committee may have for Department of Chamorro Affairs.
Thank you. And compliments on your willingness to take a $500,000 cut. But I need to ask a couple of questions. Well, let's start with the museum. In the last paragraph there, you talk about the need to fund a museum curator. Though I compliment you on the opening. I was at the opening of the permanent museum 2 weeks ago. It's beautiful. I am very proud of what we have now. How has the museum curator position been filled to date, or is that filled at all?
Not at this time. We just recently extended the contract of our private operator, the one that manages and maintains the museum, up until the fiscal year of 2018, September 30. Right now, the private operator, if I may say their name, Galaidi Group, they, out of their contractual agreement, included to pay and outsource the collection management curator. So we're looking at additional curator in history or curator in collection management, or both, in this next fiscal year, in order to get the accreditation from the American Alliance of Museums.
Okay, so just to make it clear then, the curator that's currently assisted in putting the exhibit together was a contract employee of your contract.
That's right.
With Galaidi Group.
Yes.
And this new position is to have this position funded in-house.
And if I may add that, it would be very integral for continuity purposes that the government should hire its own curator as well as, rather than contracting it out.
No, I fully agree. I'm just we were trying to figure it out because you've done such a good job with the museum currently. We were just trying to figure out where that person came from, and that person is currently under the contract.
Yes.
I noticed that the amount for the museum has actually gone down in your budget request.
Because of the financial crisis that we've been incurring prior to this, we had asked the governor if we should continue on with the operator and the private operator. And because of the indefinite financial crisis at the time, he said that we would just go up to September 30, 2018, extend it up to that point, and we'll see how the financial situation is at that time with the government. But had asked that we should negotiate the contract with the operator in a much lower cost, approximately about 40%.
It would be the contract with the current contract with Glidey would go down 40%, but you're now picking up on your own budget the curator and the 2 additional persons.
That's our request for FY 2019. Again, we found out that for continuity purposes, for accreditation, that the government should have its own curator for continuity purpose if, for example, the operator decides to discontinue in outsourcing a curator for their contract, or if we decided that if the government is still in financial crisis or not able to afford the private curator, a public-private partnership, then DCA should be able to continue or should be able to sustain itself and manage the museum.
People are probably going to think that this is a strange question for me to be asking.
Sure.
But it would seem to me that as important as that museum is for the destination development of Guam as a tourist attraction, it would seem to me that we should not be penny wise and pound foolish with that operation. So what was your request for the full operation of the continued operation of that museum before it was cut?
I'll let my AO describe, because I can't see the mark there. This is Marilyn Regis, my administrative officer.
We have requested the same authorized level for FY 2018, which was at $1.8 million for contractual services.
Okay, so you wanted the 1.8, but BBMR and the administration cut it to what?
We were
1.1?
1.1, correct.
Okay, but for the full operation, we just opened the exhibit 2 weeks ago. It would seem to me that with everything that you're going to have to do, that you're going to have to carry forward unless your people are ready to do it. You're going to need to provide us with more information on the museum for our budget preparation, okay? Because we want to see that museum continue to operate, not only at its current capacity, but even more so. What else needs to be done? We will allow you to give us a supplemental statement on the operations of the museum to try to figure out what it's going to take to keep that at its current level, or not cost, but what it's going to take. And in doing that, you're going to also have to break down for us the cost of, now that you're charging for the permanent exhibit, how much are you expecting to bring in? How much will that provide? Would it make up for the loss of the $700,000? The receipts at the front, would that cover the difference? I'm not getting this in this report, so please, I'm going to need to get a more detailed expense for the museum. I'm concerned about the loss of the $700,000, but I'm trying to figure out whether or not that's being made up for by the gate receipts, as it were.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, we will furnish that to you, but yes, we anticipate that the gate receipts, the events, revenues, and we contracted, like I say, in our private partnership with Galati Group to seek tour operators in the tourism industry. And that market, we will be able to see that in October 1st.
No, I understand the need to try to work with the tour operators to get those things in line and assuring you X number of visitors per day and how much, whatever the arrangement's going to be with them. But also, just so you know, I got an earful from GVB about the fact that though $27 million of tourist attraction funds was used to build the museum, and that your entire operations for CAHA is from the tourist attraction fund, that every time that they've had to use the museum for any function or even for when they bring fan tours, which would seem to me to be to develop the business of the museum, they get charged for it, and they're trying to figure. They're hoping to get a better relationship with the.
We're working on that. It's just that the Board of Trustees had put those event fees and admission fees in place, and we would have to follow that because these were interim fees. And now that we're going through the process of a AAA, and now that the board had just approved the AAA, the minutes, that they had approved the AAA process, now we'll go to the process of going to the Attorney General for approval, to the Governor, and then to the Legislature.
And please take into account the fact that you need to have this symbiotic relationship with GVB, and that.
We of course definitely. Well, we just continued on with it, especially like the Guam Micronesia Island Fair. We didn't charge them for anything on that.
No, I understand that,
like that, yes.
There's got to be. I know that the Island Fair was out there last weekend, and that there's some power costs that haven't been reimbursed. And so we're going to have to try to figure this out. I mean, you both have to start to realize that you need each other, which takes me to my second question on Chamorro Affairs. Is Chamorro Affairs going to continue to oversee Chamorro Village, or is Chamorro Affairs going to do what the administration or ADLIP is suggesting, that it be transferred to GITA? We heard from GITA last week that because of the 5 classified employees, they can't take it. What position is CAHA taking as it relates to
DCA?
DCA.
Yes. DCA, of course, we've heard that through the front office that that either GVB or GITA may partner up with Department of Chamorro Affairs, and we encourage that. We don't have marketing money, and our mandate is to promote our language and culture. I have to say, yes, we're not in the business of being a landlord, but we could do the job, and we have done so. When questions arise about Chamorro Village, I'll be glad to tell you some of the good things that we've done in the operation of Chamorro Village.
Well, this part is the Chamorro Affairs one.
Good.
And so this would be the time to talk about your collections as landlord. We looked at the audit that was done for DCA, and it doesn't break down how much. It says you're collecting $500,000 in rent. Is that all from Chamorro Village? How much rent are you collecting? That part is still not clear.
Well, we haven't gotten the full audit of FY 2017. We're going through the process now. But according to since I came in 2 years ago, of July 2016, we took away the we took away the subsidy of the water, utilities, and including the trash collection. We've been subsidizing that for the last 22 years. And with that savings, I'm proud to say that we do have, we're in the black in FY 2017. So we have only 2 people actually that are actively working in Chamorro Village, our general manager and an administrative officer. And we needed additional employees. Our PC1 had retired just last November. And so we do need help in the administrative side, particularly in the accounting department and collection. We're working on that now. And so we believe that in FY 2017 that we've eliminated the deficit and now are in the black in collecting rents and also in many other revenues that like Wednesday night market.
Can you provide us with a breakdown of that, of what is your monthly rental?
Sure.
And the difference between that and the Wednesday night rentals and what other income you guys receive broken down, just so we can see?
Yes, sir. We'll turn it in today.
And as I understand it, each of the vendors are now responsible for paying their own water, power, and trash?
And the trash collection, right.
Okay. And that's not subsidized by you. Let's see if I've got all my questions answered. There was a request for $2,800 for computers in the President's office. How many computers are you guys planning on? Or why would...
Can you say the question again, sir?
You're asking for $2,800 for computers in the office?
Oh, one.
For one computer.
2,800?
Yes.
Okay.
Could you elaborate more on what the computer is about?
Do you have any questions? This one's just Chamorro Fairs, and then we'll break down the various ones, all right?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Sablan, and all of your staff for being here today. And congratulations again on the opening of the permanent exhibit at the museum. I concur with the speaker that it is beautiful. We're very proud. And however, in your testimony this morning, you said that the Department of Chamorro Affairs has only 2 main divisions, that is the Chamorro Village and the museum. But it pretty much, you have zeroed out in your budget proposal the Chamorro Language and Culture Division and the Research, Writing, and Publications Division. And you've also reduced your entire budget by $500,000, like the speaker says. And I guess I am very concerned because it seems like a deprioritization of the mission of your department. And it's a $700,000 proposed decrease in the operations for the Guam Museum. Now, I think I'm personally willing to see your plans for the museum, how you intend to operate it in-house with hiring personnel, but I would like to see that in writing, what the plan is going to be, because it is a huge investment by the people of Guam, not just the Visitors Bureau, but the people of Guam, and I would like to see what is the plan for making that work with, you're only proposing to hire one additional employee. Well, it's an increase of, in the museum salaries, $90,000. It sounds like one employee, a curator or collections management person. And how many employees are currently working at the museum under the contractor? What would be your estimate?
We, at this time, we could like to continue with the contractor, a public-private partnership. But, and we have no notice to operate on our own at this time. And however, we just always like to prepare and try to project our existence as Chamorro Affairs, and to make sure that the museum would stay in this high management and operations that we'd like to promote it to our people and to tourism. However, at this time, based on the budget of FY 2019 that we were given, we like to continue with the public-private partnership, but unless we get any information from the front office that we need to start planning to run it, DCA to run it, and then that's when we can furnish you a plan and how to do this.
Well, I guess I would like to ask you to ask your board then. What do they recommend? Do they think they could run it efficiently with a savings to the people of Guam by doing that in-house, or do they want to continue with the contract? Do they agree with the $700,000 decrease in the contract for the Guam Museum? I mean, are we still going to get the product that we need and that we want? Maybe it's lower because it's set up now. I just think we need to hear that from the board, because the way the speaker has set the tone for these budget hearings, it's very clear. If you don't justify the existence, for example, of these other two divisions, and you yourself are zeroing them out, then that's the priority that will be set for the government of Guam. And I'm very concerned about that. I don't think we are done with the government of Guam's mission for Chamorro language and culture, or research, writing, and publications, and or to decrease its attention to museum. And in regards to the curator or collections management, how do you currently, it's currently your mission to manage the artifacts and the archival assets of the government of Guam. So how do you do that without a curator or a collections management person?
Well, that's why we're asking the FY 2019 to hire a curator for collection management, government under the government side. If the financial measures of the government continues to exist today, on the fiscal year ending of 2018, we obviously we could not afford a public-private partnership, and therefore the private company right now are the ones that are hiring this collection manager, the curation collection management. So for our government side, for continuity purposes, we need to hire a curator, so that in case anything like this would happen on the private party suggests, hey, I can't afford this contract that you've negotiating, at least I can still have an administrator and a curator taking care of the artifacts in the government side.
All right, for the currently DCA has at least 200 boxes of human remains, is that correct?
That's correct.
And that is just in boxes in storage, not able to be placed in the museum or even stored in that new facility. And is the new repository that's being built up at the University of Guam will that be under the purview of the Department of Chamorro Affairs?
No, it's not.
Did you agree that would not be under the purview of the Department of Chamorro Affairs?
We argued on it, but evidently the Department of Interior, who is funding this thing, prefers to go with UOG, and we are working to see if UOG can do a mutual agreement where we can have access to place our artifacts there, or vice versa.
All right. Are you expecting a decrease in the Guam Museum fund for FY19? Because you're requesting $48,000 less from that fund.
Well, we anticipate always, a positive approach to sustainability in the Guam Museum. So we're hopefully hoping that tourism and tour packages will offset that cost of our decrease.
Is it safe to say that we should be expecting an increase in the Guam Museum fund based on admission prices being increased from $3 to $15 or $20?
Well, if the approval is valid to both legislature and that what we're going through the AAA process, we're requesting up to $20, and then for different packages, and we anticipate an increase in revenue in that respect. Yes.
All right. I had asked earlier for the new contract with the museum operators. If you could please provide that. We haven't received it yet, but I want to know, what is the difference between the old contract and your new contract? You said it was a significant decrease. I don't remember. What was the amount of the decrease?
Well, the old contract actually is just continues on, and the extension of the contract is just part of the old contract. There's still deliverables have to be provided, and the operator now decides at that time during our negotiation, certain employees would be on their side will be minimized, and to meet their operations or.
And how does that affect the public's access to the museum? For example, we heard that at the same time when you announced that you would be renegotiating this contract, that they had decreased the hours of the museum, and at that time it was going to be from 8 to 2, or very early, because I remember thinking that's before school gets out, so students can't access that after school. But I think that's now changed. So what is the impact of this renegotiated contract on public access?
Actually, we're very proud to say, because we were trying to get a feel of, at that time there were tour packages that tourists were dropped off in Hagatnya at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we were hoping to get a lot of them. Mm-hmm. So in this case, the numbers didn't show up at this particular time period. So we're back now 7 days a week. We're open 7 days a week from 10 o'clock in the morning to 4. So we've also found through survey that after 2 o'clock, it's really our dead space, and there's nobody that comes in other than tourists looking for a bathroom.
So the survey says close it at 2, but then why did you change it to 4?
Well, we were looking to again, we're doing survey purposes now. Yes.
You're continuing to survey that?
Yes.
All right. As to the Chamorro Village...
Can I mention about the 200
sure.
ancient human remains?
Yes.
We're proud to say also that Governor Calvo has already instituted SHPO to finish the design of the Naftan Manay Nata. So we will be able to break ground on this year. And so that's the priority of the ancient human remains, of those 200 boxes that Governor Cruz says, I like to bury them and make sure that we honor them by having it, the internment would be over at Sagangatura up in 2 months. So.
Yes, that's been waiting for a long time. I agree. And last year
Yes.
we were able to add that in on the floor in the budget for
Yes,
the
you
design
did.
of that.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
so I hope that
So
that
the design is fast-paced and should be finished soon.
great.
Yeah.
All right. As to Chamorro Village, Gita has told us that they propose to take it over and that they believe that there should be different rates set, incubator rates and commercial rates. But when I read your minutes, it looks to me that you already have those types of rates. And Gita also said that they have given to your board a plan or their suggested model as to how to run the Chamorro Village, but that the board did not implement that plan. And I guess if you could just speak to that, what do they want to do that the board does not want to do on its own, or what is the efficiency that they're proposing that you're not able to accomplish?
Actually, I don't have a copy of that plan, and I don't remember when that was presented to us, whether it's my first few months when I got in, as that was the time when that they were planning to take over.
All right. Well, then I've asked them for a copy of that also, yes. And we'll make sure that you get a copy. So, all right. Well, maybe that explains that. We'll see. But all right. But I am very concerned that you're zeroing out these divisions. You're not really explaining why we have no longer this priority. You've from the president's office decreased it by $25,000. It looks like in translation fees, translation costs. Is that because you're going to do it in-house, or I mean? What is that?
The reason why it's not really our reasoning. Is because there's I was told that there is another agency or commission called Commission Finot Samorud and Historians and Linalot. So they're looking for that some of that budget will go towards them, and I rather go ahead and give it to them because I also belong to that commission as DCA president, and the translation would be wise if you take it over to the Commission Finot Zamoro because they are the authorized orthography and historians.
All right.
However, I do want to say that what we are looking for is we like to archival. We like to take some of. We like to actually open that agency up or division, so we can continue on with the archives at this time. Because like everything else, we're not sure where we're going to put all our files. I mean,
that's another one that's zeroed out.
Yes, but we've been requesting, and hopefully.
Well, if the speaker would allow it, I would ask that you reconsider these that you have zeroed out and justify whether the government of Guam needs to continue to have those in the Department of Chamorro Affairs mission or not. And I personally would think we still need to continue that as a mission, and that's part of what we're hoping makes Guam unique. Yes. And makes it's perpetuation. But thank you, Mr. Sablan. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Vice Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Sablan, and the team for your presentation. I appreciate the tone, certainly understanding the situation of this government or what this body has addressed regarding, as you mentioned, the crisis situation we went through, and there's still some uncertainty there, understanding there's some measures out there that makes this whole process, sometimes for me, wondering where things are going to be at the close of September 30 regarding some measures that are out there, referring to the adjustments we had to make to address the crisis. So I appreciate the tone that you're providing here. And I'm just wondering, too, if this budget request is reflective of a fiscal realignment, or did you submit a fiscal realignment?
Yeah. Well, this yes, we did.
So this is pretty much consistent with
If our plans, yes.
Yes. Okay. You're going through the adjudication process regarding your fees. Do you have a time frame when that would be completed?
Well, now that our board of directors had approved the minutes of the AAA process, we will now move forward and send it directly over to the Attorney General for her approval, and then to the governor. We did have a public hearing, and that's all, and the economic impact on it. So we're moving forward now with the AAA process.
Based on those fees, and you're looking at this request here for the museum fund.
Fees, yes.
Are you projecting that it would augment or offset this request?
Well, it'll definitely augment the operation to cover operations and maintenance and other programs, and that includes the admission fees, the event fees, and membership fees. So we anticipate, based on our very they're doing surveys, and based on the surveys, that it looks positive. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Okay. No, I appreciate coming in with a decrease in over $500,000. Do you feel that you'll still meet the mission and objectives of the Department of Chamorro Affairs?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Dios más y Señor Sablan. I'm very happy also with the museum, and I share the speaker's sentiments that we have to ensure that it is off to a good start and that it is well funded to ensure the sustainability of the museum going forward. And the curator position was last filled by Mr. Ramirez, who passed away. Is that correct?
Okay.
It hasn't been filled since? Mm-hmm. Okay. The only question that I had is with regard to the authentication of the Chamorro language and translation services. Is there a dedicated body within DCA whose task it is to receive inquiry and requests for authentication of the use of the language or translation services?
No, ever since I came in, there were no one basically, other than we outsource the authentication purposes. We seek certified folks in that particular area of authentication.
So is it mostly on a volunteer basis, or?
No, at the time we had a budget for translations or consulting purposes.
Because that's one area in line with the Vice Speaker's concerns that I think is especially needed right now as people are grasping to teach the language and learn the language and apply it. I know that GVB also has a very active program to have everybody incorporate in the Half-a-Day Pledge and all of that. So that component, I think, is important so that we're not pigeonizing what is really our language, and that, you know, if you can think about that, I would appreciate to have that sort of a focus and a personnel within your staffing pattern, that, or contractual services, perhaps.
In answer to your question, actually in January 2017, the legislature and the governor had approved I Commission Fino Zamoro Zani Historia Zani Lena Tautotano. They actually, their mandate and their enabling act actually copies pretty much what we offer at the Department of Chamorro Affairs under Cultura, under research and education. So they, since that law, they have become the authority now for translations, for authorization, authentication, and they exist. I'm a member of the commission based on my appointmentship as DCA president. Unfortunately, there's no need to go over to DCA anymore regarding that particular requirements, because the commission takes that particular services over.
Ang gingawa no cuestiones ginini san hilo gisan from the outside san hizong. Ang gingawa tatagi san hizong malago mafaisin haftamano may all the questi gifino Chamorro. Ang gimaagang DCA sinya un sangani haji lapmun po juda no na klasin tauta.
Ang kansinya no in referi gato ge Commission Fino Chamorro. So they're now the authenticated agency. They authenticate and do all those services that we used to do. We still outsource at that time because of the budget, but we don't hold that anymore. I mean, we still have it written in DCA's Enabling Act that we can do those services. But I think it's a double function, and we're looking at trying to narrow and lower the expenses with everybody in all agencies. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay, thank you. So I think things have progressed, because at one point it was, that function was served by a board
DCA.
member of DCA.
Yes,
right. And sometimes overwhelmingly, the requests were coming in, but
Esta taza pa.
lo pago este man listo anzuno.
Esta taza no.
Okay.
I mean, sinya no un referi gato ge I Commission Fino Chamorro esta they exist by law.
Okay.
That they are the authorized Chamorro authenticator and those particular services that you require in Chamorro.
Si Deus masi, pues taza mas be faisin.
Okay.
I just about that the commission. Tomorrow, they're a commission, and they're not a large agency. They were set up. Their enactment, the law that was passed prior to me being in this position, was that they were going to be able to utilize the staff of DCA, the University of Guam, the Department of Education, Chamorro Studies, and all of these people, and they're all coincidentally also on the commission. And but yeah, I don't even think there was a budget request in our packet for this commission at this time. So I think, you know, when they establish the way it looks like it was set up now. You may be proposing something different, but the way it looks like it was set up was the commission, yes, they are the authority. When they establish an orthography, a dictionary, that is the law of the land, right? That's the authority.
Yes.
Yet, we need our departments to implement and to assist with all of that mandate of getting this out to all the departments, the day-to-day translations. I'm just not sure that the existing law for the commission sets that up as opposed to it was very much reliant on the Department of Chamorro Affairs being fully functional and active and able to provide support in those areas. So maybe we'll just take a closer look at that.
Yes, Ms. Masi. Again, just to close out that thought about the Commission Finazamoro. We just don't have the staff to, under Cultura, which is our division, to handle that services, because we felt that it was just duplicating service of what Commission Finazamoro can do. And we did and continue on to help the Commission function. We provided them board meetings at the museum. We provided them water. And
so it's just that they're a voluntary commission, right? They're all voluntary.
Yes.
I think they might have got staffing in the last budget for 1 or 2 employees
Yes.
at the most. But yes, when it comes to the day-to-day, how we're going to get Chamorro into our government, into our schools, everywhere, we need full-time paid staff, I think.
yes, I would need a full-time staff for that. And Chamorro Affairs is prepared to do that. We did that with the MES Chamorro by calling all the agencies and say, hey, what can we do on your agency? Can we continue to promote Chamorro on a daily basis? Your signage and things like that. So we do that anyway, and even though we don't have staff.
Thank you. Why don't we do CAHA now? CAHA.
CAHA. Okay. I would like to bring up Joyce Bamba, Deputy Director, and the AO for CAHA, Sherry Barcinas. So, Mr. Chair and senators in the committee, of course, based on the reorganization number 6 of 2011, CAHA is under Department of Chamorro Affairs. And I sit as an executive director for CAHA. And I would like to introduce Joyce Bamba as our deputy director, and the AO, Sherry Barcinas. So I would like to ask Ms. Bamba to go ahead and read the HRRA requirements.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker, and distinguished members of the Committee on Appropriations and Adjudication. Hafaday. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Guam Council on the Arts and Humanity Agency's fiscal year 2019 budget request. CAHA is requesting for an appropriation level of $804,553 for its operation. Of that amount, $294,000 is federal match, while the remaining balance of $510,553 is requested from the special fund, specifically the Tourist Attraction Fund. Of the overall amount, approximately $469,927 is requested to fund salaries and benefits for 7 employees, being the deputy director, myself, and 6 classified employees consisting of an administrative officer, stage maintenance technician, and 4 program coordinators. Of that, $294,626 is for subgrants and operational costs, and the $40,000 is for the Guam Territorial Band. The core mission of CAHA is to encourage, foster, advance, and promote a lifelong appreciation of the arts and humanities as a crucial foundation to the welfare and prosperity of our island community, and to perpetuate the arts and humanities with programs and initiatives that enhance our quality of life through education, creative expression, and the professional development of our local artists. This division accomplishes its mission by 1, administering federal and local monies in support of a variety of programs and services through grant projects, which encompasses the disciplines of arts and education, folk arts, media arts, performing arts, the underserved, and special projects. Providing technical assistance in the implementation of special projects such as annual fairs, festivals, and etc. Providing a venue for exhibits, displays of local artwork throughout the year. So CAHA is not broken down into divisions, but its organization is separated by administrative services and programming. The administrative services is responsible for overseeing and administering the administrative administering the administrative services functions by evaluating services effectiveness and recommending or initiating changes in policies, procedures, programs, and requirements to improve department effectiveness. It manages and monitors all financial aspects of the agency's local and federal funds for accountability and control, to include budget preparation, financial reports, status, and obligations, and provides technical assistance on various projects and programs such as planning, development, reviewing, and implementing regulations. The major objectives of administrative services are 2: provide direction on policies pertaining to administrative, fiscal, and personal matters, and to ensure that fiscal matters are in compliance with all applicable local and federal laws, rules, regulations, and guidelines. Programming is responsible for the development of the programs for the encouragement of the arts and artisans in the disciplines, such as we have arts and education, which places artists in schools and in the community for special innovative projects in arts education, with the goal to make arts part of the basic education. The underserved communities, which provide support to foster the arts in rural, inner city, and other underserved communities. Folk arts, designed to enrich the lives of the Guam community. It gives recognition to the indigenous and ethnic artists and their art forms, and it's to promote a greater understanding of Guam's native and multi-ethnic community. Under performing arts, we foster creativity within the performing arts. We increase public awareness and participation in performing arts activities, and we facilitate the design and development of a cultural facility on Guam. Under visual arts, it's designed to provide support for visual artists and their art forms through presentations, exhibitions, lecture demonstrations, and art festival events. Under media arts, we provide support to artists in film, audio, video, festival or events involving media arts. Under special projects, we provide support involving literature, humanities, pertaining to but not limited to history, philosophy, language, archaeology, etc., and community art projects. We have a fellowship program also which seeks to recognize and encourage the creative development of emerging and professional artists by enabling them to set aside time to pursue their work. Continuing on under programming, we coordinate special events such as events and activities within the arts arena to include fairs and festivals on island and off island. We provide technical assistance to constituents for grants and special projects or programs. We monitor CAHA subgrants and fellowships, specifically in the disciplines of the art disciplines that I just mentioned: arts and education, folk arts, media arts, performing arts, underserved, and special projects. So in order to qualify for a grant, we initiated the mandatory workshop for each upcoming fiscal year. The implementation and enforcement of the Percent for the Arts is designed to foster culture and the arts, and it's necessary for the development of the arts. The law mandates that the owner of a public building or buildings supported by federal or government of Guam shall have the option of allotting at least 1% of the overall construction, remodeling, or renovation cost of a building for the acquisition of works of art, or to have these monies deposited into a fund established and administered by the Guam CAHA. The fund will be used specifically for grants to individuals and organizations for programs geared towards the development of arts that would benefit the community, especially young children and young adults. The program was expanded to include Government of Guam buildings and structures, and government buildings and structures must contain elements of Guam history or Chamorro artistry, and the inclusion of other artistic disciplines other than visual arts. We oversee the Guam Art Bank program, which establishes to promote and increase creativity and aspiration towards artistic excellence. It provides art pieces to government offices, and it was established to also promote the individual artists and their artwork. The Youth Education, Training, Cultural Enhancement, and Sports Opportunities Act, established by Public Law number 31-132 to support educational training, cultural enhancement, and sports opportunities, and identify drug-free adult and young leaders who will mentor other adolescents to, I don't know, is this a typo here? Alcohol, tobacco, and drug-free lifestyles. To live alcohol, tobacco, and drug-free lifestyles. Relative to the Off-Island Educational Training and Cultural Enhancement Fund, the program goals is for educational and performing arts enhancement opportunities for island residents with interest in performing arts who venture beyond Guam shores in stage performances for invitational events or engage in competitions not offered locally. We have the gallery program, which provides the venue for local artists to exhibit and showcase their artwork and crafts, offering the people of Guam and our off-island visitors an opportunity to experience the creativeness of Guam's artists. So the major objectives for programming are to expand the arts in our community by offering programs, projects that enhance the quality of life of the people of Guam, and to provide them with a platform to express and share their unique creativity with the community, which allows them to gain a better understanding of themselves and one another and to help build the community. In addition, CAHA, Guam CAHA is the pass-through entity for the funding of the Guam Territorial Band Society and is responsible in monitoring, reviewing, and the submission of payment requests on its expenditures. The Guam Territorial Band is a nonprofit organization governed by its board in which local funds have been provided in support of this organization to provide community, Government of Guam, and its agencies with quality music for official functions, ceremonies, special events, and parades. This program provides an opportunity for musicians to improve their individual skills and to better the overall musical quality of the band. So the requested amount of $40,000 is to cover its operational costs. In closing, I just wanted to quote what CAHA hopes to exemplify in our community. And this was delivered by a speaker, Laura Kohler, who is from the very famous Kohler company. She just recently delivered this at NASA's Creative Industries briefing, and I think it's very appropriate. It shares what our sentiments are at the CAHA, that communities are rich in arts and culture, attract people because of their quality of life, character, and opportunities for participation and investment. Art fosters vibrant communities and allows them to create and sustain social networks and establish their identities outside of traditional demographic. Art allows people to learn valuable skills across all walks of life and to participate in non-traditional creative outlets. So with that, I close and I say thank you and sejus ma'asi. We are confident that CAHA will continue to expand its programs and services within our community, given the continued support, and we thank you again for giving us the opportunity to present our 2019 budget requests. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to see that you're the new deputy. I'm just a little surprised. Did Jackie retire on me and not to say anything?
Jackie? No, she's here. She's still our PC 4.
Okay, I was wondering, because I was always used to her being right there. I just didn't notice. Okay, good. The only increase that I saw in your budget, and though the committee wants me to ask the question, is on your travel. That's the only increase that I see. Your travel, that's the only increase that I see. They just want to, on the record, yeah. In your budget, the only increase that we've been able to find is the increase for travel. It was 0 last year, and it's now almost 4,000 to 3,700. Did you want to speak to that about the necessity for it, or is it necessary that 2 people go, or can 1 person go?
I just came on board last year, and we normally have 2 people go to that conference. That's for it's a NASA conference. I
understand.
I felt that there was.
I used to represent CAHA 40 years ago for the governor's office. I was the one that would go in place of the president and in place of the executive director because of the networking that is necessary. And the other thing that I notice is there hasn't been much of an increase in federal grants.
Yeah,
are there plans for applying for new grants? Otherwise, going to the national meeting is really of no consequence if we're not networking to apply for new grants.
Yeah. Actually, we are going to be visited by NASA this June or July. And hopefully, since I've been on board, I've been networking with the chief executive officer, and so that's prompted her to come out to Guam and look at what we're doing out here and how she can assist us to get more monies, hopefully.
Okay, good. I mean, because I see that you're getting 294, but that's almost the amount that we were getting 40 years ago.
Yeah,
and so
I agree.
We need to try to apply for more grants. And though I know this current administration in Washington, D.C. was threatening on killing the National Endowment, I'm glad that it survived. But as long as they're still alive, please apply for as many grants as possible.
Yes, and we're also thinking about going after humanities grants because
Yeah.
there's NEH. So hopefully we'll be
I
able
mean,
to
it
do
might be
that
even to
sometime.
go to two different conferences, one to go to the National Endowment of the State and one to go to the Humanities one,
Yes.
rather than both go to the same one. But somebody get to one or both of them to try to see if we can get more money from either one. Okay. I have no further.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for them?
Just the way I'm reading this is there that $59,000 increase, 38,000 is for personnel, 7,000 for contracts, 2,000 for supplies, 6,700 for travel, 5,000 added for equipment, 400 for utilities. What is the increase in the personnel, the 38,000?
I think that was my position.
Oh,
But I'll let the president speak to that so that I don't have to defend my position.
Well, if I, based on the 4 agencies that I oversee, as well as the 2 divisions, I really needed someone that can handle also the Council of the Arts. So it's the governor's privilege. And that he assigned her, and of course it created a little shortfall.
does CAHA have the capacity to apply for more grants, the personnel and expertise?
I believe so. I always look forward to maybe with the great staff that we have with Jackie and Sherry and Brea and Mark, and then now on board Ms. Bamba. I believe that we will be looking out for more grants outside of NEA.
Yeah, I personally would like to say that we have a great staff, and I think we need to put more money into their, moving them up, mobility, because right now we have 2 PC1s, 1 PC3, and 1 PC4. So they're kind of stuck. And I think we need to look at that, how we can get more funds for staff, so that they have a chance to move up.
Thank you. Many of them have been there for very long, and so they've been doing very, very, very good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's do PBS.
Again, under reorganization number 6, 2011, Department of Chamorro Affairs oversees Guam Educational Telecommunications Corporation, also known as KGTF, and PBS Guam, Channel 12. Here with me is Acting General Manager Kate Baltazar, and our Administrative Officer, Ms. Lorraine Hernandez, the Great. Lorraine Hernandez, yes.
Please.
Sidismasi, Senor. Buenas and half a day, Speaker Cruz and members of the Committee on Appropriation. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Guam Educational Telecommunication Corporation, PBS Guam KGTF Fiscal Year 2019 Budget Request. PBS Guam submitted its budget request on March 26, 2018. As stated in our PBS Guam mission statement, PBS Guam is committed to providing services using multimedia to educate, inspire, entertain, and express the cultural diversity of the people locally, regionally, and internationally. PBS Guam serves the unmet broadcast needs of Guam residents who are without paid access to cable or wired digital television or broadband service. And for producers, we provide access to broadcast quality video production and distribution facilities. PBS Guam's local services and production quality establishes and maintains higher content standards than local commercial television and video producers, especially to benefit those with least access. PBS Guam provides vital local services in 12 hours of daily high-quality network children's programming, 6 hours daily of highest quality network news, science, drama, and arts programming, artistically innovative, intelligent, and culturally respectful production of public service messages, and video reflections of island people and events. For over 47 years, PBS Guam, KGTF TV 12, has been Guam's recognized leader in high-quality children's programming and long-form local programming. In true appreciation, thousands of Guam's elementary school children contributed over $50,000 to support KGTF's continued operation during our family readathon. PBS Guam featured annually on air the works of winning entries to our PBS Kids Go Writers contest. We also actively promote PBS Learning Media and Teacher Line to augment educator effectiveness. PBS Guam is a publicly supported, recognized, valued educational institution of and for the people of Guam. KGTF continues to produce the Academic Challenge Bowl for the Department of Education Gifted and Talented Program, where hundreds of Guam junior and high school students, both public and private, have represented their schools over the years. PBS Guam distributes its programming via channel 12.1 and 12.2 from a transmitter located in Barrigada Heights. We are funded by the Government of Guam, 37%, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting at 43%, and private revenues from viewers, corporate sponsors, and video production clients at 20%. Our programming is from non-commercial network PBS, local independent and in-house producers, solely to serve the unmet broadcast needs of the community in accordance with our license from the Federal Communications Commission. We compete against commercial and religious broadcasters with over 12 hours of high-quality programming daily, our archives and long-form local event coverage, and evening fare of news, current affairs, drama, cultural, scientific, and the natural world for the entire family. The Guam Educational Telecommunication Corporation, PBS Guam KGTF, is seeking as a FY19 appropriation level of $631,509 for its operations. The sum of $631,509 requested is from the Territorial Educational Facilities Funds. And to break that down further, $526,652 is for personnel, and $104,857 is for operational costs and utilities. The Director's Office is responsible for overall direction, administration, leadership, and administrative support. The administration section is primarily responsible for supporting senior management and the Board of Trustees in the areas of budget, finance, human resource management, and other related administrative functions and tasks. This section reports directly to the General Manager, generating necessary reports, and to the Board of Trustees chairperson. The production section creates and acquires long regional content and bids on or produces public service announcements and video projects from other Government of Guam agencies, NGOs, and private businesses. Of all the content, 50% are programs that are scripted, produced, edited, and packaged in-house, while the remaining 50% are programs acquired from independent producers on Guam and throughout Micronesia. Programs created or acquired focus on cultural, social, historical, or political subjects. PBS Guam KGTF also films community-level events of interest, such as the Guam Liberation Day Parade. The programming section is responsible for filling every moment of public television airtime with quality broadcast content and documenting the broadcast activity to comply with FCC regulations. This content comes from a variety of resources: the feed of nationally recognized programs produced within the PBS family, the right to broadcast which is secured by PBS Guam's annual franchise fees. Also, programs which are sourced through independent producers and programs which are produced by PBS Guam KGTF. This section plays a crucial role in reviewing the appropriateness of programs, the thematic structure of daily, weekly, and seasonal broadcast schedules, sponsorship and station ID compliance, cataloging and organizing taped and digital media, and fulfilling copy requests for locally produced programs. The development section is responsible for securing financial support from the corporate, business, local government, and the community for GETC PBS Guam for national PBS programs and other related activities, such as production, annual televised pledge nights, auctions, membership campaigns, special events, and other activities. This sales and marketing department primarily engages with the business community, Government of Guam agencies and foundations, and nonprofit organizations. Sudus Maasi for the opportunity to present this, and I'm subject to any questions from the committee at this time.
Sudus Maasi to you. Whoever wrote that should be assigned to go out to every single department to assist them in writing their testimony for the budget hearings this
It was a collaborative effort, Mr. Speaker.
Though it wasn't submitted on time for our review, it is thorough, and that's the way I want all the testimony that's provided to us, every single one. And I'm thankful that you did it because, as I said in the beginning, I didn't know what you were going to do, and I was afraid that you were going to leave me hanging and having to cut if you guys had no testimony. So thank you very much for saving my 3 hours every evening that I have something to watch. But the thing is that I'm very happy with the testimony. For the last 17 months, PBS has been operating without a general manager. Is there a need to have a political appointee general manager, or can and should PBS be operated by a classified person that survives the administrations and can run that agency? It functioned well for the last 17 months without a general manager. Can it continue to do that without one?
If I may, Mr. Speaker, Lorraine Hernandez, the AO, has been functioning as the acting GM. And as you mentioned, could they function in perpetuity without one? And I believe that the answer to that is no. And whether that is a political appointee or a classified position, that remains to be explored. But I think that the void of having one person shoulder the leadership responsibilities as well as the day-to-day management and operations has reflected in some areas, such as our private development funds. And truly, only 38% of our budget is general fund Government of Guam money, but it is so valued because the rest of it has to come from our community. And however which way that occurred in the past, you know, I'm 10 days in, 14 days in, if you will, and I believe that we have such a great public benefit for a small taxpayer incentive investment. And to continue that, there has to be someone in collaboration with not just Senor Johnny, but also ASO and the rest of the staff who can provide that stewardship in developing and drumming up the much needed community funds. And if you see that, and we can certainly provide that, there was a drop in our private sponsorship and other privately generated monies in the past because of the void.
So now that the general manager position has been filled, there's also one other position that you want filled, and that's a television chief engineer position. Has that been filled?
That has not been filled, Mr. Speaker. That is being carried on. That task is being carried on right now by a very capable Mr. John Munya, who's been there for 30 years, and is really our production manager. So at this time, it's really the GM, the AO, the TV programming personnel, 2 cameramen, 1 broadcaster, and as I mentioned, we do need a chief engineer.
Okay, I note when I hear been there 30 years and Jackie been here 32 or 34 years. Do we have a succession plan at the department to make sure that we have people behind them that are going to come up if any of them should opt to retire now that the 175 is in, even if they didn't have the old plan? Do you have people that are going to be able to fill in to?
That is something that Senor Johnny Sablan and I have been working on, and as I mentioned, I'm 10 days in, but I've met with most of the staff, and it's essential that there is a succession plan. I do recognize the great work of the classified as well as the PBS federally funded employees, but that is a need, Mr. Speaker, that we are going to have to look at because succession planning, I don't believe, has been considered, and we do have a considerable number of our staff who are pending retirement. Yes.
I also noted that there was a decrease in the membership fee. I mean, in the broad PBS service membership fee. It went from $40,000 last year to $29,000. Is that going to be sufficient to keep up our? Was that part of the realignment that should have been saved to make sure that we continue with the programming that we have?
Well, that $48,000 that was transferred in 2017, that is just the remaining budget that we have because we didn't have any for contractual. So what they did is we had lapse from personnel because of the TV chief engineer position hasn't been filled. We requested if we can transfer that money to contractual.
But now that you're filling that chief engineer's position, or you want to fill that chief engineer's position, you should have sufficient money in there to keep up your membership fee with PBS so you continue, so that there isn't, I don't know if you guys get to keep the old film and keep running it, because there's some reruns. Some nights I'm like, I've seen this already. Is that because we're not paying our fee?
We pay our fees through private funds and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting CSG money that we have paid during the years. The money that we get from GovGuam is just a partial payment of the fee.
Okay, then maybe you should send us under separate cover a copy of the invoice and the cost for membership fee to continue to be a PBS station. And so, whether it comes from private or from public, at least we make sure that we're covered there. I noticed one other thing. There was no request was Was that because we built the big new thing up in Barrigada Heights and we no longer need?
Well, we are certainly in need of new equipment. I was just talking to our production team in the last few days and our programming team, and there are more up-to-date methods of archiving and producing, especially for our local content. So we are exploring that, and we hope to cover some of that with grants. There are some federal grants for technical assistance and equipment and training that we'd like to pursue as well.
Okay, good. As a former grant writer, I'm sure you're going to be able to write some very good grants before you start sitting here. And so get those grants written so that they have the money to operate, all right?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any questions from anybody? No? Go ahead.
Can you explain the decrease in the membership fees of about $10,000 from FY18 to 19, the public broadcasting membership fees? Is there a reason that there's a decrease in that amount?
Yes. I'm sorry, maybe you should, as acting GM. I'm going to defer to Lorraine Hernandez, who's our acting GM.
Based on what we were all allocated, whatever the remaining money that we had, we just threw it into contractual. Mm-hmm. And that's what we've been doing, because we only get funding from the government is salary, benefits, and power. And then whatever the remaining we have, we throw it into contractual, which pays the PBS bill. It's just a partial, very little amount that comes from the government.
I think you can cover that when you send me your invoice for your membership fee, or whatever it is that costs you guys, so that we make sure that we continue. Okay.
And a copy of your testimony, please, because we don't have copies
yeah, I know.
of that.
It was late, so provide.
My apologies, Vice Speaker.
And it'll be
Mr.
copied
Speaker.
for everybody.
Yes, ma'am.
Because, again, that should be the template for everybody's testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, committee.
All right, let's do HRRA. RRRA.
Aganya Restoration Revitalization Agency. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Again, Mr. Speaker and committee members, under the reorganization number 6, Department of External Affairs also oversees the Aganya Restoration and Redevelopment Authority. Along with me on my side is Mr. Joseph Santos, who actually assists us in the planning of the restoration and redevelopment of Aganya. I'll let Joseph start the request. Thank you.
Buenas and half a day, Chairperson Speaker Cruz and committee members on appropriation and adjudication. Jesus Maasi for the opportunity to present the HR fiscal year 2019 budget requests. Also provided for your perusal are concerns from the HR Board of Commissioners relative to its ability to perform its mission. The document that was sent over asked several questions. One of the questions is, what are the core missions of your agency and how do they serve the taxpayers? The mission of the HRRA is vested in its enabling authority by 1997 Guam statute, which is Public Law 24-110, codified as Chapter 79, Title 21. HR's mission is to revitalize, promote, preserve, and protect the heritage and economic vitality of the city of Aganya, and to provide an environment for the social, economic, and psychological growth and well-being of all our citizens. Inherent within HR's mission is to plan, develop, replan, redesign, clear, reconstruct, or rehabilitate the city of Aganya, including but not limited to the alteration, improvement, modernization, reconstruction, or rehabilitation of any combination of the above in Aganya, Also to provide for open space types of use such as streets and other public grounds, space around buildings and public and private buildings, structures and improvements of public or private recreational area and other public grounds, inclusive the replanning or redesign of the original development of areas in Hagåtña. The next question that was asked was, what are the specific metrics you use to determine the core mission is being achieved? Because of the lack of funding that HRRA has, it's difficult for the HRRA to actually complete its metrics that it has in terms of the development of a city. So I provided in the attachment. And the third question asked was a brief overview of your agency's funding level for FY 2019 and how these funds are allocated and expended to meet your agency's core mission. Currently, we're receiving funds from the Tourist Attraction Fund, and that's $135,366 for FY 19 coming from budget ceiling from the Bureau of Budget and Management Research, with the FY 18 authorization coming from also the Tourist Attraction Fund of $136,590,000. There's a variance of 1.01% less than what was on 2018 authorization. Like the FY 2018 budget authorization, the FY 2019 budget request includes salary and benefits for one employee and rental space. Due to past budget years, the HRRA was not provided adequate funding and the opportunity to accomplish its mission. Nevertheless, the Department of Chamorro Affairs has been instrumental in providing some admin and logistical support. However, there are concerns by the HRRA Board of Commissioners to accomplish its end state, which is to revitalize, promote, preserve, and protect the heritage and economic vitality of the city of Hagåtña, and to provide an environment for the social, economic, and social growth and well-being of all our citizens. The concerns, there are actually four concerns. One is dedicated fund source. The second is real estate control. The third is Hagåtña master plan, and the fourth one is the Guam Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, or its application of those respective funds. Does the speaker want me to read the entire? Actually, those are the concerns, and then let me just go and do the completion portion of it. However, the required dedicated personnel since however, this requires dedicated personnel. Since 2002, the HR Board of Commissioners requested for basic staffing to meet its mandated governance responsibility. However, each budgetary year, funding for basic staffing has not occurred. The HRRA Board of Commissioners cannot perform its fiduciary governance responsibility when when a board and one planner staff is only available. The HR requested the minimum personnel to provide the basic services needed to operate an organization. The payback would be exponential because the opportunity for federal funds to hire necessary personnel beyond the basic and minimum personnel is needed. Those positions are the chief planner, the PC4, engineer, administrative officer, and a board secretary. The HR Board of Commissioners echoes the sentiment provided in this testimony and reiterates that HRRA does not approach its responsibilities of restoration and redevelopment of our capital city haphazardly, but with due diligence and calculated deliberation to provide the highest and best use possible with the limited land space available in our capital city. Just like legislature in Guam, HR pursues the vision of greater good for the people of Guam to provide a vibrant Hagåtña as the center of cultural, civic, political, sports, and economic vitality for Guam and the Western Pacific. Thank you for your comment. This concludes our testimony.
No, thank you very much. And yes, at some point, you're going to have to get the HRRA board to come in and justify its existence. Because really, seriously, except for the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, the HRRA board is, I think, statutorily the most powerful one that we've created. It can tax. And so at some point, you're going to have to, either that or whoever is governor is going to have to do what was originally done when the HRRA was first established, and that's put the giants of the community on the board in the hopes that something is going to happen. But right now, I just don't see, with the finances the way that they are, much more money than keeping whatever is being done now and trying to keep it going. But yes, at some point in the future, you're going to have to justify your existence. Right now, it just isn't. And I don't think that we can afford much more. And so I can see this happening. I know that somehow, somewhere, you guys have been getting money to fund operations. I'll let the Vice Speaker ask that question and follow that up. But I don't think right now is the time to be going into much more than this. You've had quite a bit of money from somewhere to do a lot of work. I just don't know what else is necessary.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to differ. In the testimony dealing with the dedicated fund source, it allowed HRRA to collect the money from real estate property taxes within Hagåtña. However, subsequent to that, there was a modification by a subsequent law that took all real estate property taxes and put it under the Territorial Facilities Fund, which took away from the Hagåtña Restoration and Redevelopment Authority's ability to perform its mandated mission. And so we've been working with the legislature to try to modify the law that would correct that issue, that problem that happened. And that's why we attached the law that was introduced by, or the bill that was introduced by Senator San Nicolas, which was to rectify the funding source issue so that we can proceed with it. We can proceed with getting money. Right now, we're not getting any money. We're getting it from by the grace of the legislature, either out of the general fund or out of the tourist attraction fund. So we're not getting anything out of the real estate property taxes in order to improve the city of Hagåtña or do whatever we need to do. We're working with GITA. We've made an agreement with GITA to provide up to $1 million to fund the completion of the Hagåtña Master Plan. We're about to submit the Hagåtña Master Plan to the legislature and to include the design guidelines and to include where the HRRA will be within the near future. It's not for, they can view it, yeah, but it's not for public release at all. One of the things that we're working towards at the meeting of this month's HRRA board meeting, they will talk about transmitting that to the governor for transmittal to the Guam legislature, but also about the governance of the Hagåtña, where the Hagåtña restoration will be in the near future. What we anticipate is that the HRRA will move from an agency of the government of Guam into a city council. So it's going to morph from what it has right now into a city council with a council manager type of city government. And so we're going to move towards that end state in the end. We have the blessing, of course, with the legislature. If the legislature doesn't allow that, then we still remain as an agency. But the bottom line is there's several structural things that we need to fix in order for us to move forward. Now, the U.S. Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration has visited us 3 times and has asked us to apply for the grants that they have, because Guam has submitted something called the Guam Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. And within that strategy, it tells EDA that you want to develop literally whatever you're planning to develop that will stimulate economic growth. The projects that are listed on the testimony where it says Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, and I think it was provided to you guys, it lists the projects that are part of that Hagåtña Master Plan. And the EDA is saying that we can give you 50 to 75% of the funding associated with the construction of all those development, which will stimulate economic growth and increase our tax base. but you have to show how you're going to do a payback. And this is where our problem comes in, where the funding that was supposed to go to the Hagåtña Restoration and Redevelopment Authority for its projects and to match whatever in terms of federal funds is it's not there. And so we can't collect that money, or we can't say that we're going to match it with any type of resourcing or sourcing that says that money is actually going to be there. We've met with the Federal Transit Administration. They want to give us buses to develop a city and provide transportation within that city, but we have to show how we're going to pay back or rather match that particular one. We've met with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. As a matter of fact, Mr. Joey Diego, he also brought some individuals in, and the board met with them, and they all said they're willing to give us money under the Rural Development funding opportunity in order for us to improve our infrastructure within Hagåtña and also channelize part of the fund source to channelize the Hagåtña River. But the bottom line is that if we don't have staff to apply for the grant or to do things that are necessary for it, because I'm the secretary, I'm the administrative assistant, I'm the planner, I'm the coordinator, I'm just a jack of all trades doing everything that's there. And it's really frustrating when I look at the opportunity for us to develop what's ours as a Chamorro people. Hagåtña was founded, according to archaeological reports, over 3,000 years ago. And yet we're here and we can't even develop our own city and bring people to it. It's the only recognized city in Micronesia. But yet it looks like this. We're doing it in small spurts, but not in a methodical way. And all I'm asking is the Guam legislature to provide me just a little bit, and I can get a lot back. The return for Guam will be exponential. When you apply for construction grants, especially when EDA says we're going to give you construction plans, there's an administrative cost associated with that. That administrative cost goes back to the agency, and that agency can hire employees with that particular grant. But I can't. I'm the lone wolf there, the jack of all trades, and I need your help in order to make this happen. If it doesn't happen, then you're going to see Hagåtña just stay the way it is, languishing in a non-development mode. And the economic base, if you build these proposals that are listed in here, will increase the tax base for Guam and allow us to use more money for whatever it needs to be used. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
No, I'm glad that you got that out. That's what I needed. Did you have a question that you wanted to ask? Please.
Yes, I just wanted to, so the last year when we were talking about budget for HRRA, you talked about GIDA is helping fund your consultant for this Hagåtña master plan, that's Matrix. And at that point, the government of Guam had spent $680,000. And you're saying now that they've authorized a cap of $1 million for this master plan consultant?
That's the Senator. That's the total cost. We haven't exercised that $1 million. When we look at a contract, we want to make sure that we get the biggest bang for our bucks and make sure that it's worthwhile in terms of it. So we still have expended $680,000 in terms of GIDA. There was an additional cost that the board had requested from GIDA, which was to have another final public outreach before we submit the master plan to the governor and the legislature.
How much was that? That's what I want to know. Since the last hearing, $680,000, how much has been spent since then on this?
$89,000.
$89,000. So for the year, $89,000 on the Matrix. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And what is the source of that money besides GIDA? I mean, what fund of GIDA's funds that?
there's two funds that one is coming out of GITA under our agreement with our memorandum of agreement with GITA, and that's up to $1 million. And then the hot bond had $200,000. So we took the $200,000 from the hot bond and used that as part of our contract, the initial payment to Matrix for to do the outreach. I mean, to do the master plan.
So is it a 1 million plus 200?
Yes.
Okay, because last time my notes show it was a 680,000 to Matrix. The 280,000 from the hot bond you were going to use to pay GITA. HRRA was going to pay that to GITA, but so it's an addition. So 1.2 million. All right.
Yes.
But what's the source of GITA's funds?
Okay, we don't. GITA is an economic development agency. It makes its own fund source. We made an arrangement because if we develop a GUTNYA, that's an economic stimulus for Guam.
Yes.
And so that's an economic development, and so GITA is all for that. And we said we've agreed. HRRA has agreed that if you fund us the money until we resolve the funding issue, fund source issue, we will pay you back that amount, that $1 million.
All right, and then the testimony says that there are already HRRA approved projects, and then you said that's the list that's attached.
Yes, I attached.
Approved by the board, you mean?
Pardon?
Approved by the board?
Yes, and it's in the master plan.
Okay. So is it this HRRA metrics for the city of Agatna?
No. There's a...
What are the projects? Oh.
Yeah. I don't know if you have that because
yes,
I provided that as part of the testimony.
Yes, we do. Okay, so that's called... no, that's the SEEDS projects?
That's the SEDS project.
SEDS project. Okay, we talked about this at the last hearing. These projects, we went down them and you explained many of them. So they all have an estimated cost. And
by the way, this cost is estimated at on June 2016 costs. So that's the value of construction at the time.
Okay.
It may increase and may decrease
yes.
because of what's happening with the military buildup. But the bottom line is this is the cost based upon what DPW has provided in terms of the high and the low of building construction costs.
All right. So on any of these projects, has any of them since the last hearing been completed or begun?
The only one that we've been working with GBB on that and the governor's office and GITA is the Palazzo, the palace. It's to rebuild the palace. In the end, that palace will become an extension of the museum because of what we're looking at in terms of redeveloping the palace in terms of the residence for at the time, the governor's residence at the time. And so we're looking to rebuild that. There's another area that we're looking to build, the governor's office and the lieutenant governor's office, the legislature's 11 offices, the rest of the line agencies and the Department of Law, the Attorney General, and the OPA's offices. However, there's a law that was passed by the, just to bring it up, there's a law that was passed by the Guam legislature, made it clear that we cannot build any office buildings until a study is completed. We're working with DPW to try to complete that study. We provided DPW with all the information necessary in order for them to do this study, update the study, but we haven't heard anything back from them.
All right. So these projects, this entire list pretty much remains in limbo, you're saying, and because there's no dedicated funding source for these?
Well, the law says we have a funding source, but there's a subsequent law that says every single real estate property taxes and improvements will go into the territorial
so all
educational facilities fund.
So the plan that Matrix is developing was is based on the theory that that HRRA would be able to use all of the real property taxes from Hagåtña to fund or invest in these projects. And because that funding source has fallen through or been diverted, I guess, by prior legislatures, none of these projects is able to begin strictly on grants or any other type of funding source?
They can, this is why we had requested for a position, the PC4. One of that role, the PC4, would have to apply for all the grants associated with this. Now, I mentioned three federal agencies.
Yes.
The Federal Transit Administration for buses, for just Hagåtña area and the surrounding. The U.S. Department of Commerce for rural development. The U.S. Department of Agriculture for rural development grants for infrastructure. And then last but not least is the U.S. Department of Commerce for Economic Development Administration. And again, EDA has come out here 3 times. They've asked us to please apply for the grants, but we can't apply for the grants if we don't have a funding source to match.
All of these grants require a match? That's my question. I would just like,
Yes,
very
they do,
okay,
Senator.
so, and then I understand, yes, you've asked, you said since 2012, so yes, and I've seen this for the year and a half that I've been here. You're asking 5 positions: a chief planner, a program coordinator, 4, an engineer, an administrative officer, and a board secretary. And you're saying that if we filled these positions, these people would be able to apply for these grants? They would prepare the applications and give us a proposal that shows us how much we really need for a match?
You know, if you just give me that little, I'll give you the tens of millions of dollars that is listed on
Well, this is a lot, because even an engineer, we can't even get one for DPW, despite giving them money. I mean, it's not as easy as it sounds to just... But my question is, if GITA is able to give you money for Matrix, are they able to give you money for any of these positions? For example, the grant writer that's going to bring in the millions and millions of dollars in grants that you're suggesting.
You know, in the agreement with GITA, we asked them, can we use that money to hire? And they made it clear to us that the answer is no, but no. Their rules of engagement is that the money is going to be used strictly for economic development and
well, GITA is also
contracts.
All right. Well, GITA is also the financial advisors of the entire government of Guam, and have they said they are not able to write a grant for you for any of these projects listed here?
They are the government of Guam's proponent for SEDS, so they can't help us write the grant and then review the grant and submit it over to EDA. So they can't do that, and that's why we're asking, just give us that little positions, and we will give you a lot. And by the way, we're not talking on the engineer, because of the way Department of Administration personnel lists engineers. We're looking for a landscape architecture, and within the engineer position, the role of a landscape architecture is listed there as part of an engineer's role. And that's what we're looking for, landscape architecture. We want to build a city, but we want to make sure it's not concrete. We want to make sure that it's beautiful, it's landscaped and beautified, because we want these tourists to come to Hagåtña and look at what we have.
So after the contract with Matrix and the Hagåtña master plan is sent down here, we still need to hire somebody to design the landscaping?
Well, you know what? As you develop, you still have to design things to make it look appropriate to Hagåtña's history. And so you still need that no matter what, because as part of the landscape architecture, then you have staff that will do manicuring and making sure the trees look the way they look, not butchered or have the bush cutting disease that normally the trees around, especially in the public area, look like.
All right, I guess yeah, all right. So I understand and I appreciate all the work that you've put into this and the networking that you have done with the federal agencies. And so the potential that we have for these projects, I am a little bit, I guess, perplexed that if these are really truly available to Guam, that we don't have a single grant writer in the entire government of Guam that was in the executive branch that's able to help you to, for example, complete one, even just one of these.
Ma'am,
I don't know, that's perplexing to me. So none of these projects GITA can be involved in except as did you say seeds?
Facilitator.
Facilitator. They can't.
Well, you need to ask them. Our agreement with GITA
right.
was that they would provide the $1 million to us and help us get the contractor to complete our master plan. By the way, I've been with the government of Guam for 30 years. I've seen the government of Guam drop in terms of personnel, and I could tell you that every agency of the government of Guam right now is fighting just to exist because they don't have enough resources to administer the laws that you guys, the mandates that the legislature says they have to do. A prime example is the Department of Chamorro Affairs.
I agree.
Yeah, so
that's why my question to you, these positions that you list, they don't specify grant writers unless a program coordinator 4 is supposed to be the grant writer?
Under the Department of Administration personnel regulation dealing with program coordinators, they are strictly federal grants administrators.
Administrators?
They administer federal grants. That's their role in life. That's why they were created, to administer that, to apply, to execute, and to end the grant. And so they're not to administer grant. Something from the government of Guam that's local funded. They're there to strictly for federal grants.
But you want these positions to be funded locally.
In order to apply for the grants,
right? That's what I'm asking.
You need to first have the positions available. You cannot turn around and say, "Oh, I'm gonna apply for this grant and hire a PC4." That's not authorized.
All right.
They're gonna tell you, no. You first get your locally funded position or positions, and then you apply for those grants. And then we'll give you once you get it, we'll give you the administrative costs so you can hire additional people associated with that grant.
All right, so you said you're currently working on the Palacio. This is my final question. I know my colleagues also have questions. Just the Palacio is the priority. Is that because you find it's going to be the best economic driver for the city of Hagåtña versus the flooding control and the parking meters or the government offices and all the other lists of projects that you have here? That's another question.
First of all, the Palacio is a restoration effort.
Yes.
It's not a redevelopment effort. If you understand the difference, we're restoring a structure, a portion of a structure that was destroyed. That's a restoration measure, and that has different guidelines associated with that. And if you look at the comprehensive economic development strategy projects, we didn't prioritize them. But it's a requirement. In order for us to develop the city of Hagåtña, we need to channelize the river, and we need to make sure that there's shoreline protection measures in the inline so that the city of Hagåtña does not flood. In Pong Sangwa itself, the last super typhoon that we had.
No, we understand why, but my question is, when I asked you which one of these are we currently working on, you said the Palacio. So why are we not currently working on the Hagåtña River Channeling and Riverwalk project?
I'm working with that also. As a matter of fact, we lost out. We met with, just about a month and a half ago, we met with the Army Corps of Engineers from Honolulu. And we were shocked that they changed their regulation for matching in terms of civil works project for flood control. And it went from us updating the study costing us $525,000 to 1.3 million that the local, we have to come up with in order to match, in order to update the study. And so we're looking at different ways to do it. Ma'am, Senator, when you asked me what project am I working on that's a short-term measure, it's the Palazzo. But we're working also on the Hagåtña River redevelopment. The Hagåtña River channeling. I'm working on landscaping. I'm working on getting other things associated with helping us develop, but using it as some type of cost that we're not going to burden the government of Guam with, by getting the non-governmental organization and private organization to come and help in terms of landscaping, in terms of other things. So when you say what's my priority, there's a lot of priority that I'm working on, but one of the things that you can see obviously, and it will go into effect, can go into effect immediately, is the Palazzo, the reconstruction of or restoration of the Palazzo.
Well, isn't the model for that we're going to build it, we're going to put we're going to put bond money towards that, we're going to put whatever other money, your money towards that, real property taxes if you can get it, and we're going to build this building, and then we're going to charge fees, very similar to the museum's model, and pretty much the sole income is going to be the admission fees that we charge tourists, and right? And so I guess that's my question, is out of all these projects, is that what brings in the economic driver to the city of Hagåtña that you think we're lacking?
There's several projects that are there that will bring the economic driver. If you take the government agencies that are renting out in terms of $12 million a
yes,
year,
the government
and you
offices.
bring them into here and consolidate them,
yes.
You have an economic driver that will turn around and bring shopping stores.
Now that I agree, and that's I guess why I'm
condos.
asking, why is that not prioritized over the, it seems like that would, well, we need to see the study, I guess, right? Or any other model that you might have as to what, is that going to give us the biggest boost for our, biggest value? I'm just looking for value at this point in time because all of our decisions seem to be driven by money at this.
If you look at the, Senator, if you look at the projects that you have here, every one of them will bring economic stimulus. This is why EDA has come out to Guam and said, please apply for those grants because we want to help Guam increase its economic base, which then increases its tax base.
All right, well, okay. Well, I'm looking forward to then, if you have any other ideas of how we could apply for these grants,
give me those employees, and give me a little, I'll give you a lot. I guarantee you that.
But an engineer's not going to apply for your grant. The other, these other things, you said it's kind of circular.
Everything is done in tandem. You need to look at the big picture of how we intend to develop Hagåtña. You saw it in the Hagåtña master plan of what we're proposing to do. Those were all.
And those are the projects listed here.
Give me a little, I'll give you a lot.
I understand. I understand the theory, and I guess that's what I want to see. I want to see at least one project concretely as a proposal so that we can decide, can we take, $1 million away from somewhere else in the government tomorrow, give it to you because in return we're going to get, 300 million or 1 million, whatever.
Well, I don't understand why the legislature cannot correct the problem that it caused by removing the funding source from the Hagåtña restoration. We're only getting the tax base out of Hagåtña. We're not asking for the entire island of Guam.
I'm not sure why they did that, but I know that TAFF money is going towards the education.
Please,
so that's all I know.
You're insulting me, Senator. I read the I read the Educational Facilities Fund. There's $8 million going directly to the Department of Public Works. There's other millions of dollars going to other agencies. Before this law was passed, Hagåtña Restoration was getting almost $2 million a year. And it stopped when the law was passed.
Say that again? You were getting $2 million a year?
Hagåtña Restoration, before I came on board, and before the law was passed dealing with putting all real estate property taxes into the Territorial Educational Facilities Fund,
Yeah, so
they
you
were
used to
getting
get
$2 million
$2
a
million,
year.
and now it's being diverted to the
Now it's
TEF.
diverted out of
Yes.
there. What can $2 million do? It can do a lot. $1 million is
I
equivalent to $10 million
understand,
in
and I'm
bond.
trying to help you, and I agree. If you get a little, we would get a lot, perhaps, right? That's what the plan shows. But so that's why I'm just asking: can we start with one and show that, or one that you prioritize, and let's.
So who's going to apply
move
for
in that
these
direction.
grants?
That's what I'm asking.
Who's going to do it? I mean, you want me to do it, administer it, and also administer all the other things? I'm the only staff there. I'm doing, like I said, I'm doing the administrative officer work. I'm doing the secretarial work. I'm doing the jack of all trades. I'm the only staff that's doing all the work in order to make sure we move forward. And I'm asking this body to help me out, get there.
I understand.
You know,
I understand your frustration. I appreciate that.
I am frustrated because, you know, when I was growing up, my parents who lived here and grew up here in Agutya, and even my grandparents talked about how Agutya used to be. It was the center of Chamorro culture, or Chamorro-ness. And right now, it's Tumon that supposedly represents Guam. And it doesn't even represent Guam. You can go to Manila, you can go to Bangkok, you can go to Patika, you can go to Australia, and it's the same hotels and things that are there. Agutya is your best bet to market our culture and develop and provide an increased economic base. And you see my frustration because I've been with the Agutya Restoration since after I came back from Afghanistan. They tasked me to do a special project with HRRA. It was an opportunity to say, wow, the things that my parents and my grandparents saw, my aunts and uncles saying how Agutya used to be, it was an opportunity to move that forward. And then I transferred from land management to HRRA in order to make sure we effectuate that. I'm just asking you guys for help. Give me a little, I'll give you a lot. I guarantee you I'll give you a lot.
All right. Well, the vision that you described for Agutya, it's embedded in our law. It's not just your vision. It's what the legislatures before us have designed and set up and given you much authority to accomplish. So it's like the speaker said, it is one of the most powerful boards in Guam. And
but it's being ignored, Senator. We've sent out requests for not to develop certain areas in Guam, and these agencies turn around and thumb their nose up at us and grants a permit. And so, you know, although we're the most powerful board, because we haven't completed this plan and we haven't moved forward in terms of what our governance would be, we can be the most powerful board you have. But if you don't have that enforcement authority to smack an agency for doing what it's doing, or informing, helping a developer come to Guam and say, let's develop this, then you're nothing. And this is what's happening. We're there, we exist, but we exist and not moving forward. We're stymied right now, and I'm asking you guys to.
Well, the entire government is, really operating at bare bones, or supposedly, right? And so this is just, we're all challenged, and we need to work together, and that's what we need to do. That's why we just need to have all the details that we can, all the questions answered. If we need a grant writer, we need to find a grant writer, and if we can't afford one in this one agency, perhaps we can, utilize one in another agency, or that's what I'm saying. We just need to be creative, and don't give up. Just continue to work.
Senator,
and maybe if it doesn't happen in the one way that you've foreseen, we need to look around that and look another way, and let's just find another way. And that's what we're going to have to do, I think, with this upcoming
Senator, I'm very creative. I think if you ask all these people, I think outside of the box. And the bottom line, again, give me a little, and I'll give you a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Santos, for your presentation. I sure hope in my lifetime I'll get to see this whole master plan come to fruition and generations after me. I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing us some preliminary aspects of the plan. But I'm looking at in your proposal. I wouldn't want to spend too much time discussing a bill, but it's in the testimony, and you basically been referring to it regarding the TEF and how that was redirected to the TEF, the real property portions of Aganya. You said that impact or that generated $2 million annually to HRRA?
Yes, sir.
And and you're asking for these positions, did you have to put a cost associated with these amounts? Because I just see them.
Well, Senator, remember the BBMR provides a ceiling,
right,
and we can't go beyond that ceiling. But I have a copy of what was requested in 2018.
Okay.
That's why we're requesting the same amount. We're not asking for any more or any less. I can provide it to you, and you can look at it and decide how you want to pursue that end state.
Yeah, certainly you could provide that. But again, I'm bringing this up, Mr. Sablan, Mr. Santos, because it's in the testimony, and I definitely want to look at this, and work with my colleagues and see how this could possibly be restored, or maybe looking at timelines on how it would a provision that will allow for a certain time frame, understanding the situation this government is in. Because I do understand that we still need to find ways to boost economic opportunities, not just in Tumon, but throughout this island, presumably Haganya, ensure that we have a master plan that, me too, I've seen a lot of master plans. I've seen a $1 billion master plan to address the entire infrastructure of our roads and our island, and that sat there for 12 years, and this legislature finally did something to start picking away at it. And I certainly don't want to see this plan that will come before this body, get adopted by this government, and sit on a shelf. And I really want to see how we can assist you. And I'll look at the budget coming in, look at this budget, or this bill here. I don't want to discuss the details of it, but seeing how maybe things can be adjusted, not necessarily, it looks like you've already done or analyzed how this would provide the needed revenues to HRRA. But again, the overall scheme of the government, how that impacts the entire government, is something we have to look at with this committee. But I thank you for providing this, and I recall this bill. This was introduced in the 32nd legislature, and again, I'm open to the idea, unless this body could come up with a direct appropriation without not entertaining a measure like this. But again, I do want to see these master plans. There's a lot of master plans. There's a Southern Development Master Plan ongoing right now, and I know there's a lot of collaboration going on, but we just continue this practice of developing these master plans. It costs a lot of money to first put together a plan, and then to watch them sit on a shelf, like the DPW master plan that sat there for 12 years now. And it didn't make sense to continue watching how much money and resources we put in that. So we had to start taking steps of that. So I'm really open to taking steps of how we can assist HRRA. And we've been talking about it. We've been seeing a lot of the preliminary plans. As I stated earlier, we have to have something concrete that ensures that this government backs up this organization for all the efforts that's going on, or else we're just going to have a plan sitting on the shelf again, collecting dust. So I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. One of the things I would like to do is, if we can, I would like to meet with your senators and brief them on the master plan itself. Because you're right, Senator, we don't want it to sit on the shelf. We want it to be a dynamic master plan that will deal with that. And this is one of the reasons why we looked at other funding opportunities to get us the money to build these economic development projects. And if you want, please, I'm available at your disposal or at your time, and I'll brief the senators on it. Thank you.
You have a very ambitious goals and objectives in your budget submission, and actually the whole public law that created the the Hagatna redevelopment plan is quite broad, as you note. Your area that you emphasize is providing an environment for socioeconomic and psychological growth and well-being of our citizens, but actually the plan goes into issues of supply of low and moderate income housing, employment opportunities, and the like. So I understand your frustration, and I also appreciate your passion, because I've seen what these master plans have done when they were able to materialize in areas like, for example, one of our territories, Puerto Rico. They have the Old San Juan, and that is, you know, in essence, the success of a integrated master plan that came to fruition. But all things aside, and your desire to develop and latch on to opportunities, I'm looking at your goals and objectives, which essentially is 11 points. But it seems to me that in looking at all 11 points, we really could just stop at number 1 and number 2. Do you agree? Where number 1 has to deal with the Hagatna River channeling and the coastal shoreline protection measures. That's number 1. Number 2 is completion of the master plan to include the zoning code for Hagatna and design guidelines and standards, and also sustainability plans for Hagatna. But, you know, in looking at what the budget submission is and the request, it really encompasses a 1-year fiscal period, which is beginning in, you know, the fiscal year 2019. So would you, if you were to engage in what would be a short-term goal and the funding of a short-term goal for this redevelopment authority, would you agree that your focus before everything else should be on the river channeling and the coastal protection measures and the master plan?
Yes, yes, ma'am. That's once the master plan is passed, that's something that we can engage in and say, move towards the building of a city. But you're absolutely correct. If we don't channelize the river, if we don't take care of the coastal shoreline protection area, then we won't move forward in terms of developing a lot of these projects, because the flood insurance is going to kick in. And so you're absolutely correct. One of the things that we say that we can do, because the money's available and it's through GBB and GITA, is the building of the Palazzo, because it's a restoration measure. And so that's one of the things. If you show development little by little, people see this, and investors see economic development. And so you're absolutely correct. The priority is channeling the river and shoreline protection measures.
Because I'm looking at all your other points, starting from 3 to 11. A lot of those things are also complementary to what is being done by DCA, Chamorro Village, GITA, and GVB right now. It looks like all these efforts are really driven by those other agencies and could continue to be substantially funded and driven by them, in my estimate, just looking at what you're doing here. And, I can't say that anything here doesn't make sense or isn't worth pursuing. They all do. But I think that in terms of Hagatna Redevelopment Authority, if I were to make a decision, if I had the privilege of making a decision on what my priority would be for a 1-year budget cycle, I think that it would be shoring up the infrastructure that it's going to ensure that investors are going to come in and invest in Hagatna, because you've now secured the flooding issues through the channeling of the Hagatna River and shoring up the shoreline, to prevent from flooding or erosion, which also drives down everything. Their reinforcement efforts for their foundation, that costs are substantially reduced. The insurance on the buildings that they would put in. So, a lot of times when you're a one-man show, you can get very frazzled and overwhelmed by your responsibility. And, you know, I thank you for being so passionate. But it is maddening, and in that regard, I think that a lot of what you attempt to do and are attempting to do has to be funneled to other agencies who can carry that burden logically, like GVB, GITA, DCA as an umbrella. And I think Hagatna redevelopment at this point, your infrastructure is the most critical, because without that, nothing else will follow, or follow at a reasonable pace.
Yes, Senator, you're correct. Actually, that is our priority in terms of developing. This is one of the reasons why we met with the U.S. DA, Mr. Joey Diego, and his other individuals that he brought in, is because they're offering a rural development funding opportunity which is focusing on infrastructure development. And that's one of the ways we can get money, but in order for us to do that, we have to correct the law that says you're not going to get that tax money and show how you're going to pay back, or at least do some type of matching as we go along. You're right. We got GBB, by the way, is an ex officio member of the Hagatna Restoration and Redevelopment Authority Board, and they've provided studies in terms of what are destination areas, heritage tourism as a priority, the Chamorro Village is another priority, and so a lot of the things that you see in here is vested also with the plan that the Guam Visitors Bureau and GITA has provided in terms of their studies. Now, can they fund it, or can we go and get them to fund for this over here? According to GBB, they only get a certain amount. The rest of the tourist attraction fund is up to the legislature or how it wants to fund the resources.
And that's my point. My point is, if we were to look at what your goals and objectives are, pinpoint what is realistic for a one-year budget allocation, redirect a lot of the resources so that you can maximize, you know, the other agencies and their funding to accomplish what you want to do from 3 to 11. But, you know, that's my point. My point is I think rather than looking at how to just give you more manpower to accomplish certain things, I would at the minimum look at what it would take to have you accomplish 1 and 2, which is the completion of the master plan, because you always need the master plan, and the shoring of the infrastructure, which is critical to anything that goes forward. So that, you know, that's my point. And whether it's, thank you for providing a copy of that bill and bringing up that point, because if those things need to be revisited, then in terms of how to allocate scarce resources, maybe those are the creative opportunities that we have to look at in conjunction with the budget allocation that we're going to have to do. So, but I just want to have you agree that 1 and 2 is really could be the end all for our focus this fiscal cycle, this budget cycle.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you also. You know, I appreciate all your dialogue today. And you know, we have a phrase, no sa mo lalo. I just need to ask you. But and that's all it is. Is at some point we just need to get back to the basic.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Thank
you.
Thank you again, Mr. Sablan. Everyone who's testified today, this budget hearing is now in recess until this afternoon when we reconvene with the Department of Land Management, the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, and the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission at 2 p.m. Sizus Masi.
Don't call her Sizus Masi, Senator. Vice Speaker Senator Morrison and Senator Torres. Está Sizus Masi.